Good morning, everybody. Post-briefing of Sandown 500. Successful event for us, obviously. A first for us, which is good. Very happy for Carmen and Peter, obviously. Some of their effort is slowly paying back, and that's a very good thing. Brandon, what key factor helped secure our first podium finish, and how did the strategy play out compared to the pre-race plan? On the weekend, one of the key factors was the Friday and the decision we made at the base to spend the whole day chasing race setup. So we decided on Friday to not spend any time in qualifying mode because you win that race, or you actually perform well in that race if you can have a very good tire life. So the car goes fast, it's important, but then it stays fast. And that's probably the key factor on that one was the decision at the base as a group of engineers to say, okay, where are we and what's important this weekend? And we did a very good Friday, in our opinion. We found the key element in the car to make it last longer and be fast. Saturday was wet. We didn't do a fantastic job on Saturday, let's face it, but the conditions were quite difficult. A certain element of luck would have been required. And Sunday morning, probably the warm-up was a validation of the Friday work with a little bit of touch-up on the car. And I would say both cars went in the right direction, one more than the other one. And that's the key factor, basically. It's preempting the event, drawing the line of work through the event, and then executing on the day. And to be fair, the other key factor is probably not making too many mistakes on the run. And you can see 31 did less mistake than 23. And 31 wasn't exempt of mistake. We all do mistakes, and unfortunately a couple of pit stops were not flash, but we were lucky enough that we had a bit of a gap. We could shave 3 or 4 seconds in a pit stop and still retain a top 4 or top 5 position, which then allow you to fight for podium. Phil, how did the multiple safety car period impact the team approach during the race? Not much, in all fairness, because I think we all prepare, as you know, all the team prepare for these events of safety car. And this time, because we don't have to double stack under the new rules of the safety car, that means that both cars stay alive. We don't have to take risky strategy of trying to beat the safety car, go fast on track, etc. So all of a sudden, it probably delay a little bit the racing, but it allows the teams to give a chance to both drivers, basically, which you never know. Later on can be touch a wall, can be a wheel coming a bit loose, or it could be another event that your lead car become not the lead car, but the second driver is so far behind because it's double stack 3 or 4 times. Imagine what would have been the race if we had to double stack car 23 all race long. That would have been awful for them. So that's where people need to go back and look at what it would have been if. And I think that's where I think, in replying to the question, it didn't impact us, but it didn't impact anybody because we were able to basically smoothly pit everybody. All the cars, all the teams keep pit their cars, and nobody crashed into each other, nobody lost huge time during pit stop, etc. So it was quite smooth, even with that many safety cars. So it didn't impact us, and we were planning probably to have this sort of events. I think there is, before the event, we said there is a 230% safety car capability, which means 2.3 safety car per race. And we had 5 or 6 this time, so something like. So yeah, no, it's something we plan and we are ready for. I think we only did one full stint, which is not even a full stint, but probably what we call a full stint, a 40-lap stint, the second last stint, around 190 to 130 around that period, was a 40 lap stint. So no impact really from the safety car. I think the true pace of the car, the top 5 fast car, basically where they should be. We probably missed Moster. Moster wasn't in the top 5, but probably because an incident earlier on, which he never really fully recovered, basically in terms of position. He was out of sequence, and all of a sudden he's on the back foot trying to go through the field, and yeah, but didn't happen. Michael, what adjustments were made during pit stop, and how did those changes influence the car performance in the final laps? Both cars went for rear right eye change. I'm not going to divulge how much we did and etc. One went in one direction, the other one in the other direction. And depending on when it happened during the race, it was a good call for both. However, car 31 went probably for the right call towards middle end of the race. They actually stayed where they were with the car they had, and then they just made that last change probably around 3/4 of the race, and that was a positive change. It allowed the car to probably grab another, 1/10. These changes are never a half a second change. We are speaking about 500, a 10 a lap, just a bit more easy to drive the car, or a bit more easy to keep the lap time. That's the sort of small difference. And sometimes at the end of the stint, it's a 5 second, but on a 40 lap stint, a 5 second is very little change, you know what I'm saying? So even sometimes it's not even 5 seconds, 2 seconds is just enough to put you in front of the guys which is behind you. So yeah, both cars did a little change. One was probably a bit more successful, and it showcased on the finish, basically. They were the fastest of the 2 cars. Daniel, were there any challenge with tire management or fuel strategy over the 500-kilometer race? How did the team handle them? So tire, to start with, because we didn't qualify on slicks in real say, we had basically 7 sets of green tire for the race, or green-ish. Maybe one would have been 3 or 4 laps during the warm-up. So tire management was very simple. We were on green all day. So that was the easy bit, on Sunday. The fuel load, basically you try to start full the car so that you don't spend time in the pit lane trying to fill the car. So your time in pit lane is minimized. And in that case, because of the safety car happening every 20, 30 laps, we actually never really did any strategy on the fuel. When the safety car comes and it's a tire change or it's a driver change, you feel for the time of this event. And because we had so many of them, I think we can do 2 stops at Sandown and fill enough fuel to go to the end. But that will never be the quicker strategy, because trying to do 50 laps, which or 55 laps, it's actually going to be slower because the tires are going to be too old. So you'd rather stop another time, do 4, so 3 stopper, 4 stint or 5 stint. So Sandown, funnily enough, is not a fuel race because the tire doesn't last enough. You need to change tires before you need to fill the tank. And this time, because we stopped so many times, basically we never had an issue with fuel or trying to do a strategy on fuel. That will be different at Bathurst. Bathurst, the degradation, the deg is way less on tire, and usually the fuel load probably doesn't have as big impact. So I think somewhere the fuel can be a real strategy at Bathurst. It wasn't in the case at Sandown. Matthew, seems there were a few tire failures in the field. Was this a concern due to the tire compound being run, track surface, or is it a team setup error? I actually don't think there were that many. I think what we've seen is sometimes when you're on low pressure, which you all have to be to start the stint, so where the race or start the stint, and you've got a contact with a curb or a contact with another car next to you, you can pop the bead. What we call pop the bead is basically unsettle the bead of the tire on the rim, and we lose air. And then the tire is a flat tire. And that's the failure. I don't think there was any concern in tire construction or tire wear in real cell, like wear too much and you blow the carcass. That wasn't the case. There was a tire degradation, but we never really run low rubber. On top of that, the stint being quite short because of a safety car, and everybody was taking the safety car, there was never a concern on tire this weekend. So all what you saw were tire damage from accident between two cars or from hitting a curb on the very low pressure at the very start of a stint. Usually you want to have 2 to 3 laps where you don't stay off the curb, but you take them thinking about the tire and the bead of the tire. That's what happened. Peter, how much of a placing do you think comes down to the driver? That's an interesting question. It's a generic, interesting question. And I'm going to reply with a little time so that you understand what we are doing these days. All the team have got now the same tools, the same car, chassis-wise, the same aero, even if it looked different. One is a Mustang, one is a Shave, Camaro, but they've been tested, they're very similar, and the two engines are very, very similar. So that similarity means that what's left? Well, the cars are the same. So it lets the driver and the engineering group, basically, you know what I'm saying? And obviously, the team itself in terms of, execution, pit stop execution, strategy execution. But in terms of performance, you've got the same car, the same tools, the driver and the engineering group. And I think when you look at it, 50% of the result is probably down to the driver. And there's 2 reasons in it. One, obviously, we are not all equal. It's nature of life. Some drivers are faster than others. The second element in the driver difference is we are not all equal again, and some drivers find what is going to make the car fast, where others don't find that. So basically, you're trying blind to find solution where others have got a feel, more feel. So it's not only the talent of driving the car, it's the talent of knowing track by track, and it depends on every track by track, what is going to make the car fast. And the third last element is probably how much the driver match a track. Some drivers are fast and flowy, some drivers are V-shaped style, so more braking, rotate, acceleration. And they have to actually adapt themselves track by track. And that's what makes one driver which has got the talent for one or the other track, but is able to understand that he's got to change his technique, and that this is the technique for that corner, this is the technique for that corner. And that's why the driver become so important, in my opinion, and that's why we are, unfortunately, there is not 25 top driver. It's a nature of life again. And some of the good ones have gone to the outside of Australia. So to answer your question finally, it's definitely 50% for me is driver related, which is why we are all chasing, a group of 5, 7 or 8 drivers in the championship, which seems to us to have that talent, that quality of lap time, thinking, putting everything together. It's quite tricky. But by the same token, you can develop that. So, some of the drivers at Premiair have got probably the potential to become top drivers, and that's what we are trying to give them the tools and exploit their capability, and then, try to make them better in this direction. But the driver is a very important element these days. We can't design a better car, we cannot design anything. We can only use the tools. Brad, congratulations to all the team. I'd love to know from a race strategy standpoint, what are Ludo's thoughts on the virtual safety car? Do you see it an advantage to use, as some team did, or more of an inconvenience to the flow of the race? I've got my strong feel about that. There's two elements to it. There's one which is safety for the people on track, and one is safety for the people in the stands. The people in the stands are my mates. They are either engineer, chief crew or crew itself, and I've worked with probably 50 of the guys which are in pit lane, maybe 60. There is a risk. Our business is risky, and having to double stack car in pit lane, not only it's a disadvantage, in my opinion, to the second car, but on top of that, it's a risk. The second element is I'm a quite purist racer in terms of I don't want the safety car to give me back time that I've lost somewhere. That's not what I want. I want to get that from basically a performance standpoint, not a luck. I'm never asked for luck to win races. As soon as you ask for luck to win races, you're on the back foot. If I ask to something, it would be, I don't want bad luck. I don't want a nut coming loose. I don't want a wheel coming loose. So when you look at that and you want the safety for the people outside, which is the marshal, etc., the virtual safety car is a very good thing. It's being used everywhere in the world these days. So it's not like we are discovering something new. We are just applying to our championship the same tools that other championship are using. So somewhere, I don't see a lot of gain back using the virtual safety car. I don't think there is a gain to it. There is definitely no negative for the second car. There is no negative for, imagine you're coming out of the last corner, safety car is called, you've passed the pit entry, you're leading the race, you're behind the safety car now. That's not a virtue. Obviously, that's not a virtual safety car. So you're losing the race based on you were 1 second too fast, basically, coming into pits, and the safety car board is pulled out. That's called bad luck, and I don't feel very good if the best car of the day get pulled out and has basically to spend a lap behind the safety car and then rejoin after that and then be P20. That doesn't sound right to me, which is why I do like the virtual safety car, because it keeps the race a bit more true, and that's what my feel is. And as I said, I don't see how you can gain from the virtual safety car. There is a couple of things we need to do better. We had a couple of accidents during the virtual safety car, because you're driving at 250k an hour, and then we are counting down 10, 9, to 1 second, and then the driver, within the last 2 seconds, needs to go from 250 to 80k. And he needs to watch his dash to know that he's at 80k at the time of zero, when we've done that decount. That becomes difficult because you're driving at full noise at the time. You're still driving fast as possible, unless you're in the safety car area, yellow flag area, sorry. Unless you're in the yellow flag area of the track, you're at full noise. And at the same time, you've got to start to slow down, and everybody needs to be in sequence. So an example on the weekend, Will Davidson reacted to a car in front of him being slower and not being on the edge, so he stopped a bit earlier. Then Reynolds couldn't avoid touching him, so he touched his back, and then a knock-on effect. Behind him, Slady was driving full noise too, and then hit Reynolds in the rear. And it's just because you've got to watch that 80k. So there's going to be some proposal. I see one of them being trying to divide into that period, which is we go to 10 to 5 and we drop to a certain speed, 120, and then 5 to 0, and we drop to 80. So we basically make it in 2 stages so that the last 2 seconds are not a 250 or a 300 kilometer per hour into an 80. So yes, and there is no, again, there is no perfect system. You imagine when you're in the straight and they pull the virtual safety car, you've got to go to 80. But you were driving, and that's not depending on you. You're on track driving. So you're now at 80k in a zone you should be at 300k. Now, the other competitor may be in the corner at 80k, or even slower, 70k, because it's a corner you can't take more. And they pull, that. So he's going to activate, his pit limiter for that 80k, but it's not costing him any time. So the guy which is in the straight is losing time actually, physically. And that's the nature. So it's not a lot, it's going to be 2 or 3 seconds, but that's what's going to happen. It's not completely equal, unfortunately, and that's what the virtual safety car is. The normal safety car is even less equal. As I said, the leader of the race could be, losing the race because of a safety car board at the wrong time. So that's my philosophy, and that's how I see it. I do like the virtual safety car. I think it needs to be used better. We probably can fast track a little bit the time. Some of the time lost on the weekend when people are saying, it's too slow and this and that. And they are right, it's probably too slow. It's because we try to, give back a lap to the car which are behind. And that's why we do that extra lap where we could release the car and we do that extra lap and then they come pass and overtake the safety car. Maybe that's something we need to review. But my opinion, it's a good thing. Thank you very much, and see you after Bathurst.